Welcome. Today, we're going to share some stories with you. These aren't just any stories. They're accounts from people. People who went through military boot camp. We've looked at sources describing some really unsettling, kind of strange things that happened in places you'd least expect. Boot camp is, well, it's designed to be tough, right? Pushing you to your absolute limits. Mentally and physically, it's intense. But sometimes, the sources suggest the challenges aren't just standard. They talk about moments that felt, well, outside the norm. Chilling things reported by recruits. So we'll walk through several of these accounts, sort of let them unfold as they were shared. Think of it like hearing these weird events directly, one after another. We'll try to get a feel for what these individuals went through.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is how these intense environments, places with so much stress, they can sometimes seem to, amplify strange experiences. Or maybe just bring them to the surface. Let's see what the sources tell us.
Okay, let's start with this one. Navy Basic Training, Great Lakes, Illinois. This is back in 2011. The recruit telling this story was on a top bunk. It was late, maybe 2 or 3 in the morning. So they wake up suddenly. And right there, standing at the bunk, is a man. Looking directly into their face, the immediate thought, panic. Must be an RDC, a recruit division commander, which, means trouble.
Instant fear signal in that context.
Exactly. But then the man does something odd. He just sort of cocks his head slightly and says quietly, "Hi, pumpkin."
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the recruit just freezes, totally terrified, expecting to get yelled at, dragged out of the bunk, But the man, he just stands there, staring. It was so unnerving, the recruit said, that they eventually just shut their eyes tight. Couldn't look anywhere. Too freaky.
I can only imagine.
After maybe 20 seconds, felt like forever, they said the recruit opens their eyes again. And the man, gone, vanished. They looked around the barracks, just the usual sounds. Someone coughing, snoring, maybe a faucet running somewhere. Normal.
So no trace?
None. The next morning, they asked the bunkmates nearby, did you see anything? Hear anything? Nothing. They apparently just laughed it off, thought it was a weird dream or something.
Right. Typical dismissal.
But here's the thing. About a month and a half later, after graduation, the recruit gets a chance to ask their 3 RDCs, sort of casually, "Hey, were any of you walking around that one night? Did you see a guy?" All 3 denied it, flat out. And they specifically said they absolutely would not let another RDC just wander around messing with recruits like that, especially saying something so strange.
That adds another layer, the official denial.
It does. And the recruit says they can still vividly picture that face, inches from theirs.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Perception under extreme stress is one thing, fatigue. But the vividness, the persistence of that memory, plus the RDC's denial, it leaves a real question mark there for that person.
Absolutely. Okay, moving to a different account. This one's from basic training in 1995. Wintertime. This recruit felt like they were getting picked on a bit, always assigned to shovel snow, often at night. So, one night, they're ordered to shovel snow near the corner of a building. It's dark over there, no lights down the side or the back. They're shoveling with another guy. Probably miserable, cold.
Standard boot camp fun.
Right. So about 20 minutes in, they both hear it. A clear voice coming from the dark area near the building. It just says, "Follow me."
Oh, that's unsettling. Both heard it.
Both heard it. They were instantly spooked.
Yeah.
Understandably. Eventually, their commander calls them back in. The other guy, the one shoveling with him, actually tells the commander about the voice. The person sharing the story doubts the commander really checked it out, though.
Probably not.
So, fast forward a couple of weeks, same recruit, shoveling again, same general area, different partner this time, very late at night. This time, the recruit hears a voice say, "Hello," but the other guy, he hears nothing.
Okay, so only one of them that time.
Right. But then, less than a minute later, something else happens. Both of them hear a laugh. And they both described it the same way. It sounded exactly like a little boy laughing.
A little boy out there at night.
Exactly. They both agreed immediately. There's just no logical way a child would be on the base at that hour, let alone in that dark, off-limit spot.
No way at all.
Then it gets visual. The recruit telling the story has his back turned for a second. Suddenly, the guy he's with reacts like someone's running right at him. He stumbles, falls backwards into the snow, and yells, "Oh my God, there's someone back there." So the recruit spins around, and he sees it too. Just the head and shoulders of a person sticking out from behind the corner of the building in the dark. Hard to make out details, but definitely a person's shape.
And what did it do?
It didn't jump out or run. It just slowly, deliberately moved back behind the building, out of sight. The two of them just stood there, silent, totally spooked. But, duty calls. They had to keep shoveling. Commander came out later, dismissed them. Neither of them said a word about what they saw.
They kept it to themselves.
Yeah. The recruit said they shoveled a few more times after that, but they made sure to avoid that specific corner. They mentioned hearing, like, general rumors about ghosts on the base, but this felt different, more real somehow. Still can't explain how someone could have been there, especially a kid. Said they're not even sure they believe in ghosts, which makes the whole thing even more confusing for them.
That account is particularly compelling because it involves multiple senses, auditory, then visual, and crucially, it's corroborated. First the voice with one guy, then the laugh and the figure with another. That really shifts it from just a possible personal hallucination or misperception.
Yeah, the shared experience makes it harder to dismiss. Okay, let's shift slightly. This one's from a Marine near the end of boot camp. This isn't so much ghostly more. Deeply weird human behavior. So this recruit had terrible heartburn. Really bad. Especially at night, apparently from the chow hall sausage. Kept him awake.
Oh, I can imagine. Boot camp food.
Right. The only thing that helped was drinking tons of water.
Yeah.
Which meant, lots of trips to the head, the bathroom, during the night. So one night, middle of the night, he wakes up, gotta go, goes into the head, and he sees his bunkmate, the account calls him F, just sitting there.
Yeah.
On the floor, Indian style, cross-legged, facing the wall.
Facing the wall.
Yep. So the recruit walks up, asks, yo, F, you cool? Like, he's sick or something. And F just replies, yep. Recruit doesn't push it. Doesn't want to get anyone in trouble.
No.
Does his business, drinks his water, goes back to the bunk.
Okay. Weird, but maybe he just couldn't sleep.
Maybe. But then, hours later, the recruit wakes up again. Still the heartburn. Needs the head again. Goes back in there. And F's still there. Same spot, same position. Cross-legged on the floor, staring at the wall.
Hours later, still staring at the wall.
That's what the account says. And that's it. No explanation given for F's behavior if anyone else saw if it was ever mentioned again. Just this guy sitting, staring at a wall for hours in the middle of the night.
Sometimes the most unsettling things are the ones with the least explanation. No ghosts, no voice, just behavior that's so far outside the norm, especially in that kind of rigid environment. It feels profoundly wrong, and it just leaves you wondering what was going on in that guy's head. Or was it something else? Very strange.
Definitely leaves a creepy feeling. Okay, here's another one. Different kind of unsettling. This is about being watched. Recruit enlisted about 10 years ago. Said boot camp was way tougher, way stranger than any movie showed.
Common sentiment, I think.
Yeah. So only a few days in, eating breakfast in the chow hall, chaos, noise, hundreds of recruits. Notices a guy at the next table just staring at him. First thought. Okay, he's just miserable like everyone else. Zoned out.
Lazafon?
But then he realizes the guy isn't eating. He's just staring.
Yeah.
Intently. Only at him.
Yeah.
Recruit looks away, feels weird, looks back a moment later, still staring. Creeped out, but figures, okay, big crowd, whatever.
Immediately threatening, maybe.
Right. But the very next morning, breakfast again. Same guy. Different seat, but still close by. Still staring. Recruit says he even had a fleeting thought, like, maybe the guy's into him, but dismissed it, because the look felt like pure hate. Menace. He even tried to, mentally project, why are you staring at me?
The psychic approach.
Didn't work, apparently. This time, the guy is eating, but keeps looking over, locking eyes.
Persistent.
Very. Then, maybe day 3 or 4, dinner time. Recruit sees the guy at the next table, but he's facing away. Recruit feels like, relief, finally.
False sense of security.
Totally. Because while the recruit is eating, the guy slowly turns his entire body around, just to look right at him again. Stares for 5 seconds. Yeah. Until his drill instructor spots him, yells at him, face front.
Okay, so the instructor noticed.
Yep. The guy turns back like he's told, but then, seconds later, he turns all the way around again, defiantly, resuming his staring.
Wow, bold move in boot camp.
Incredibly bold. The instructor goes over and gives him a serious chewing out. Recruit is just sitting there, feeling super embarrassed, caught in this weirdness, looks down at his food. About 30 seconds later, he looks up. The staring guy and his instructor. Gone. Others at the guy's table are kind of smirking, trying not to laugh. Recruit assumes the guy got kicked out of the chow hall.
Probably did.
You'd think that's the end of it. But no. Final week of boot camp. Recruit injures his ankle, has to go see the doctor, sitting in the medical waiting area, who walks out of a nearby hallway. The staring guy.
Oh, come on.
Recruit sees him, but the guy doesn't notice him at first. Walks past. Recruit feels this wave of relief, like, okay, dodge that bullet, looks up. Sees the guy walking past the building, outside the window. The guy looks up, sees the recruit through the window, stops walking, just stares.
Yeah.
For a few seconds. then continues walking.
That final look.
Yeah.
Chillin'.
Yeah. The recruit said the guy always had this look on his face like he wanted him dead or wanted to seriously hurt him. Ended the story saying, basically, I hope to God I never run into that guy again.
That story tacks into a very different kind of fear, doesn't it? It's not supernatural maybe, but it's psychological terror. That feeling of being singled out, watched, targeted with such intensity and persistence for no reason you can understand. Especially in a crowded place where you should feel anonymous. It's deeply unnerving.
Really gets under your skin. Okay, our last account for today. Army boot camp. This involves weird noises and a figure. Setting is a 4-story barracks. Ground floor. Sergeant's offices. Upper floors. Recruit bunks. Standard layout, long corridors, rooms, toilets at ends. This recruit was on the 2nd floor, section 1, near the stairs and the toilet.
Got it.
Days were tough, the usual grind, discipline, corrections. Sleep was like gold, highly valued, rarely enough.
Standard.
But they noticed something odd the sergeants were doing. At night, they'd drag chairs out onto the parade square below and just sit there, watching the barracks.
What?
No idea. Recruits just thought it was another weird discipline thing at first. But then they noticed other companies' sergeants weren't doing it. It was just theirs. Then they stopped for a while. But strangely, started doing it again after the recruits came back from a weekend break. Just odd.
Strange behavior, yeah. Setting a weird tone.
Then the noises started. Section 3, down the corridor, began complaining. Noises at night. Voices. At first, they blamed each other. You were murmuring. You were moving furniture.
Typical barracks stuff, maybe.
Until a couple of nights later, the entire Section 3 wakes up. At the same time. And they all hear the same voices.
Okay, that's different. Mass experience.
Yeah, now the blame shifts. Must be Section 1 or 2 messing with them. Arguments, denials, maybe even some pushing and shoving. But no source found.
Tensions rising.
Definitely. So on to this recruit's specific personal encounter. One night, wakes up, really strong urge to use the toilet. Bad timing. Creeps out of the bunk, tries to be super quiet, tiptoes to the door of his room. As he opens the door and steps into the corridor, he's hit with this feeling. Overwhelmingly chilly, like all the warmth just got sucked out of the air right around him. Which was extra weird because the barracks were usually hot, humid, sticky.
A sudden, localized cold spot. Classic sign in these kinds of stories.
Exactly. And in that same instant, out of the corner of his eye, to his left, down towards Section 3, he sees someone step out of the Section 3 bunk room doorway. And he specifically notes, it was not a man. Described it as a figure, draped in some kind of white garment, with long, dark, flowing hair. The figure turns its head, and his head snaps, quickly, to look directly at him. He registers this in a split second. Pure terror. Dives immediately into the toilet stall right next to him, to his right. Slams the door.
Fight or flight kicking in, mostly flight.
Totally flight. Inside the stall, heart pounding, he feels this immense pressure on his back. Like his words were, like, her vision is engulfing his mind.
Wow, a physical sensation linked to being seen.
Yeah. He does his business as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Washes his hands. Makes a point not to look in the big mirror above the sinks.
Smart move, maybe. Don't want to see what might be behind you.
Right. As he bolts out of the stall, he hears another stall door slam shut behind him.
Yes.
He doesn't look back. Sprints down the corridor, back to his room, dives into his bunk, pulls the sheets over his head.
Complete terror.
Utter terror. And as he's lying there, hidden, shaking, he hears it, a distant giggle, sounding like it came from the doorway of his own room.
Oh, that's the worst part. It followed him.
Seems like it. He said he just cried silently, eyes squeezed shut. Didn't sleep much, if at all, the rest of that night.
That final account really ties a lot together, doesn't it? You've got the shared auditory phenomena, the voices heard by Section 3. Then the personal experience. The sudden cold, the intense feeling of pressure, the visual sighting of this distinct figure, and finally, that chilling giggle. It adds layers upon layers to the mystery of what could be happening in a place like that.
So those are some of the accounts we found in the sources. Strange figures, voices out of nowhere, unnerving laughs, those intense stares, chilling feelings, all happening in the high-pressure cooker of military boot camp.
Yeah, these stories really leave you thinking, don't they? About fear, about stress, about suggestion, but also about whether some places, maybe under certain conditions, really do hold on to something else. It makes you wonder what you might experience in that situation.
We certainly hope sharing these accounts was compelling and maybe, a little unsettling for them. It's strange what can happen in unexpected places. If you want to hear more stories like these or explore other strange and fascinating topics we pull from different sources, please make sure to find and follow Horror Docs. That's Horror Docs channel. Thank you so much for listening.